And then the final part for the update, and this is the thing that, while I might not be too thrilled with how they're implementing for this first season, I do really like the idea that the third month for every season is going to be focused on updating something that already exists in the game. So this first season, it's going to take a look at the original skeleton forts that we have. So with Flameheart skeleton ships being attacked for their black powder barrels, his fortified sea forts being ransacked, he's putting his foot down and mandating that his skeleton fortresses receive some much needed reinforcements so that they can continue to protect his tributes. This also includes a new stockpile of black powder, as well as other high value goodies. He's ordered the Bone and Blade to fortify and upgrade these locations, adding an arsenal of deadly traps to stop would be raiders, a locked weapon cache filled to the brim with explosives, and weapons for a rainy day. And he's ordered the Bone and Blade to get in on the action, so encounter them fighting alongside skeleton waves. Captain Flameheart isn't the only one making plays. The Dark Brethren have learned that Flameheart is in the possession of something that's very much desire, so in an attempt to uncover what he's hiding from them, they've set their sights on the vaults of the Reaper fortresses. The Dark Brethren have ordered their fleets of ghost ships to assault these locations. During a Reaper Fortress event, you'll battle through waves of ghost ships, phantoms, and new waves of skeletons to claim the loot for yourself. So we can dive a little bit more into detail about these Reaper forts, but off the bat, just based off everything that I know about these Reaper forts, I'm not too excited for them. I think they could be a cool addition to the game, but I kind of like how the regular skeleton forts are already. I didn't really feel like they had that much of a problem, especially when you do them as a raid voyage. I like how they're paced and how long it takes to do and the amount of challenge that you get from them. That's all fine to me. So now if you're taking away all the existing skeleton forts and they're changing to this, where now you have to deal with traps that are there, so you have to avoid them. You have to deal with ghost ships attacking you and, more powerful skeletons to fight against. I just don't really like that change. In my opinion, the ideal for this would have been to potentially make it so that only a handful of Reaper forts or skeleton forts were changed into Reaper forts. Or maybe they do something like how they have with the Fort of Fortune, where basically when it's active, when it's turned to that new, more powerful, more deadly Reaper fort, it just changes it for that time, but then it goes back to how it currently is. Maybe that wouldn't really make that much sense because of the traps and stuff that they're adding to it. But I would have rather seen like some of the skeleton forts remain as they are, and then some of them change to these new Reaper forts. I don't really like that all of them are changing. And it's mainly because I don't really want to fight the ghost ships. If I'm going to do a skeleton fort, I want to go do a skeleton fort. I don't want to do the ghost fleet. And we kind of had a similar thing with the event that we had back in January with the Dark Fortresses, where you were doing the Sea Fort and then you had to fight the Dark Brethren ghost ships that were attacking. It's basically the same idea. They're kind of reusing those assets to do the same thing. That event was cool for like a one-off, doing it once. I would not want to do C4 if they kept doing that, because it's very annoying to have to, go fight the ships, then go to the island, fight the things on there, get back on your ship, go fight the stuff that just spawned in or that are surrounding you, then go back to the fort, keep working on stuff, then go back and fight more ghost ships. It just sounds, an overall pain to me, and I'm not really a fan of that. So we can dive a little bit more into this. I'm not going to go through all that storyline, but we can just kind of go to the summary here. All the skeleton forts except for the Fort of the Dam and Molten Sands Fortress will become Reaper forts. Interesting that they've left out Molten Sands Fortress. I have a feeling they're trying to save that for something big with the Devil's War update that we're getting for Season 18. But I wonder if it'll become too repetitive to do two skeleton fort updates or changes like back to back essentially. But I'm really hoping that Molten Sands Fortress gets some kind of cool new change, new dressing. Sure. Skeleton forts have had fire traps added. These traps can be triggered by players, allowing you to dispatch skeletons or rival crews in a blaze glory. That could be cool to use, but it could also just be very annoying. We'll have to wait and see. Weapon caches have been added to skeleton forts. These weapon caches can be opened by defeating a skeleton captain that appears during the event, and contains a selection of tools to ensure your victory over the fortress. I don't see if they mention what kind of weapon caches they're going to have. There's going to be increased vault rewards with guaranteed black powder barrels. Black powder barrels are just showing up everywhere, I guess. Sure. And then there's going to be a new skull cloud. So the old skull cloud is going away. We're getting a new one to represent it, the change. I'm just saying real quick if there's anything else that was interesting that they might have left out of the summary. T-traps have been added. Okay, so this is a good change right here. You can still dive to a company raid voyage, so the traditional raid voyages we have, and they will retain the original gameplay waves and experience. It makes me pretty happy that it's being retained in some way. Yeah, so if you see the new Skull Cloud, that represents that it's Reaper Fortress and the new gameplay with the Phantoms and stuff. If you see the old Skull Fort, that means someone's doing a raid voyage. So, pretty good there.